You guys know that I've been unhappy with the carburetor on this XR 150L. Brand new 2023. It came really lean out of the showroom, and it was a little bit difficult to start when it was cold. It didn't want to start or stay running. And where it really annoyed me was at the mid to top end, it rattled a bit. And it's purely because it's too lean, which means the engine's going to run too hot. It's just not healthy. And because of the EPA emission guidelines, that's the way they're sent. So I changed out the jets in this original carburetor from a 35 Pilot to a 38 and from a 105 main to a 110. Don't regret that work at all. I got a much better cold start and a little bit more on the top end, and from the low to mid range it wasn't lean anymore. And if I stayed in that range, it actually ran really smooth. It was at the top end where it was still getting a bit of a rattle. And this is the original 22 millimeter carb, and I thought to myself, what if I get the CRF 150 carburetor that they used to run on the CRF up until 2014 before fuel injection. This is the carburetor. It's a 26 millimeter. I was trying to put a PZ27 on there before, a 27 millimeter carb, but I ran into the problems with the throttle cable. The fact that the cap is permanently attached to the throttle cable meant that I had to change the throttle cable, and that's where I'm at right now. I have a new throttle cable that I'm mounting, and I will continue this video once I've got it stuck back together, and we'll see what happens with the 26 millimeter carburetor for the CRF 150 on this bike. Okay, got the new carburetor in and the throttle cable connected. I'll leave a link for this kit that I picked up. We'll see how it works out, but I'll leave a link. The throttle cable comes with the kit, so you know that it's going to fit in good and function properly. So we're all set up there. Now remember, the heater electrical wiring has to be set aside somehow, and there's two vacuum lines on the other side of the carburetor that have to be plugged off as well. We won't be using those. So I need to get the fuel tank on to be able to test this, so I think that's the next step. Is it ever a fight to get the fuel line back in here seated properly? I'm struggling with that, but it's on enough to at least run it and see what it sounds like. So let's give her a fire up. If I give it too much gas, it kills it at a low idle, so it could be a little bit rich, but I like the sound of it. I love the sound of it. Little tweak on the carb, maybe lean it out a little bit. I am guessing this is going to run better. We'll put her back together and do a little ride, but so far I really like the sound of it. I finally got that fuel cable seated properly, but it was a nightmare because of the back of the choke. One thing you won't like about this carburetor is it doesn't have set points. The choke has to be held manually. I think it's probably made for something with a choke on the handlebars that can be adjusted, and unfortunately you'd have to hold it up and let the bike warm up and then release it. But it starts without the choke in warm weather, so this would be a concern in colder weather. But the back end of the choke gets in the way of where the fuel cable goes and put up quite a fight. But now it's time to put it back together. It's my daughter's chubby cat. Her name's Velveteen. She's an absolute freak. But I don't want to finish this video. I'm so frustrated, and I wasted a day on this. But I have to finish the video for your benefit, so you'll know by my mistakes what not to do. I got the CFR carburetor put in there yesterday, and it was bogging at high end no matter what I did. I get up to about 50, 60, and it would just start bogging. And it didn't matter. There's a mixture adjustment on the bottom of that carburetor, and it didn't matter where I set it to. It ran the exact same. It just kept bogging. So while I had that other throttle cable in, I put the PZ27 carb on, and that ran fine. But you know, it was no better at all. There was no more power than with the 22 millimeter that comes with the bike. I couldn't believe it. I honestly expected a little more power out of it. I feel like this bike is capable of producing more power, and I thought maybe if I removed the spark arrestor and put some more holes in the airbox so that it gets better flow through. But you know what, if I bought the wrong bike for racing. This is a trail bike. It's meant to be a around town commuter. It's never going to be a CRF. So I've decided to go back to basically stock, except I've got the 35 Pilot Jet and 108 on the main jet. I'm going to run that and see how it performs, and just try to enjoy this bike as a relaxed, easy-going ride. My update I promised on the seat cushion. If you're a middle-aged guy like me, I'm 200 pounds, and I love this thing. It's super comfortable. It really improves the comfort of the ride. And at 5'10", the extra height and getting rid of the rubber caps off the foot pegs just gives me a little bit more room. It feels a little more comfortable, not so cramped. So I'm just going to finish off with a cold start of this bike with the 35 Pilot and the 108 main. Not bad at all for a cold start. So I'm going to run it like that for a week. In my next video I'll update you on how the 35 Pilot and the 108 main are working for me.